Listen, I've got a question for it. And they pull me. I'm like, there's only a couple of things that here, let me ask you a question means. I'm suffering from ED. What do I do about it? Hello and welcome to the Dr. Ben Live podcast. This is the number one natural health podcast on the internet. I'm Dr. Ben, founder of a multi-site, Jesus-loving wellness company called Well Health and Chiropractic. My mission is simple: to help you and your family build a legacy of great health using the normal function of the body that God already gave you. So if you're ready for straight talk, practical steps, and a fresh perspective on health, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Ben. Let's get started. Today's show is going to be about blood pressure and sexual health. Now, this is affecting millions of Americans, very specifically men, and really people all around the world. And this is not just a man problem. And even if we just isolated this to a man problem, specifically ED, just think about what that impact of ED is, even on a normal, healthy, Christian, godly couple, of a wife watching their husband just struggle in this department. So today, we're going to talk about how do we conquer this. We see this, I hear this topic all the time in my chiropractic offices, but it's often clouded with shame. It's a man that'll say, hey, listen, I've got a question for it. And they pull me, I'm like, there's only a couple of things that here, let me ask you a question means. And honestly, the number one that I get is, come here, hey, listen, I'm suffering from ED. What do I do about it? Okay. So we're going to talk about that today. And if this is your first time tuning into the show, that is the format of our podcast. This is a nerdy podcast science show with real, tangible things that you can take home to help fix your problems, because we believe that the medical system is lobbying for its own good. Very few times does the pharmaceutical intervention actually help you. And today's show, we're going to hit this head on. Okay. I'm going to talk to you about research that came out of the medical system. I'm going to talk about research that the medical system just completely screws up and what they absolutely ignore. So let's talk about, like, how do we fix the problem? And that's the show. And again, the heartbeat of this show is God gave you an amazing body that's designed to heal. God knows what's important to you. God knows that our sexual health in our life is really important. And I believe that God is made your body to thrive all the way to the grave, right? There's biblical evidence of that. All the way to the grave. Just think about Abraham. He's having babies all the way into his 100 years old, right? So we are made, our bodies are made all the way to the grave to have wonderful sexual health, but we need to figure out, like, what's breaking down. So if you want to fix this, we first need to understand what lies you have been told, how to unravel those lies, get to the truth, and then just make some simple fixes. So you ready? We're going to get this done. We're going to get this done right now. First and foremost, blood pressure is on a loop with your kidneys. So we're going to fix our blood pressure issue. We also have to fix our kidney issue, which, hey, guess what? Two for one, we get to fix two issues. And then ultimately, that's going to fix our sexual health. So big question is, who am I talking to right now? The typical person comes in my office, happens all the time. Like 15 chiropractic offices. We love chiropractic, we love wellness, health, and nutrition and genetic testing and all the things. And I get this. Number one is probably the number one thing that men ask me about. And he's a lot of shame though. And they'll ask me, hey, I got a question for you, but come in close. And if they say that, I automatically know what they're going to ask me. They said, now come in close. Hey, listen, I'm just really struggling. I've got ED and I don't know what to do about it. It's affecting my marriage. It's not good. What can you do to help? You are not alone. I get this question every single day in my office from a new man who is somebody who, you would think like, oh, these are probably like really unhealthy people. No, these are often men who have, put in lots of good solid years working, affluent men. Sometimes they're a little overweight, sometimes they're fit. Like, it affects everybody. So the question is, why? Why does it affect you? First and foremost, let's talk about some big old fat lies that the medical system is going to try to shove down your throat. The first lie they're going to shove down your throat is that drugs are the solution. Right. And they have the solution. And I'm just here to tell you that that's not true. It's just going to mask, it's just going to put a band-aid. So why are we breaking down? And then why is the medical system not telling you about why we break down and helping you fix the actual problem? So let's talk about it. Here's your heart. When we talk about blood pressure, we oftentimes think about our heart. However, I don't want you to think about your heart. When you think about your blood pressure, think about your blood vessels. Okay? So your blood vessels really are the things that have to do with your high blood pressure. Your heart is just having to squeeze harder because your blood vessels are constricted to try to get more blood out your body. Now, you know this, okay? So if you go to your garden and you have a flower that's way out there, if you have your hose and you squeeze your hose and you can just like get a little bit of water out, it's pretty easy to water the plants that are right here. But if you want to take the same amount of water and you want to hit a flower all the way out there, what are you going to do? You're going to squeeze the handle, you're going to narrow the diameter of the tip, and it's going to spray water way out there. Well, that's exactly what your body does. And that's why your blood pressure goes up. And by the way, we spray the water out there to the flower, we are increasing the pressure to increase the distance. That's what our bodies do. Okay. So if your heart's job is to circulate blood throughout your body and your blood can't get to your fingertips for whatever reason, your blood pressure will increase, right, to shove blood to the periphery. Now, praise God that happens. And that does happen good. I went to the gym this morning. Guess what happened? I'm working out and my blood pressure naturally went up so that I could get blood to the periphery where my body needs it. That's great. The problem is we've also got these really important organs called your kidneys. Yep, kind of look like a kidney bean. Yeah, we'll draw two up. That's a funky looking kidney, but hey, why not? Maybe I go with that. Okay. So inside of your kidney, you have this thing called your glomerulus. All right. I think that's how you spell it. Glomerulus. And what that is a network of blood vessels that filter your blood. So you're like, so what do my kidneys do anyways, doctor? Then they filter your blood. Very specifically, we're going to filter out urine. That's how we know with our kidneys. We're going to filter out concentrated urine, and that's a waste byproduct. How does it do it? It's taking it through a mesh. So watch this. Your kidneys have a lot of functions. Your main function is filtering. One of their other functions that they do is regulate hormones. So when you think kidneys, think blood vessels, big filter, and think hormones. All right, we're starting to get somewhere, Dr. Ben. Blood vessels filter hormones. Remember, when we think blood pressure, we think heart, but that's just the pump, but think blood vessels. So we can start to see where when our blood pressure goes up, what that's going to do is that's going to shove more pressure on your kidneys, which is bad for your kidneys. And when it's bad for your kidneys, it's going to be bad for your hormones. Now, when we think about sexual health and ED, a lot of times we think hormones, but you got to realize you're also talking about the physical flow of blood. For a man to have a sexual arousal, that is blood flowing. Make sense? It's a blood flow issue. So if your kidneys are getting pounded with high blood pressure, it's going to change hormones, and your kidneys are going to give off hormones to prevent too much blood pressure from destroying them. Because watch this. If your sexual health doesn't work, do you die? No. But if your kidneys break, do you die? Yes. So God gave you protective mechanism to prevent the blood pressure backing up in your kidneys that you need for sexual health, right? You need that blood pressure for sexual health from destroying your kidneys. And it causes a big imbalance and malfunction in your body. Okay, you got it? Okay, I think we're on the same page here. You're thinking, okay, doctor, yeah, I get it. I can control my blood pressure. I can control my kidneys. Now, why are you saying Dr. Ben, this is a loop? Well, I'll tell you why it's a loop. It's because your high blood pressure causes your kidneys to have an issue, but your kidneys having an issue will also cause your blood pressure to go up. Dr. Ben, you just blow it up. Help me out here. Okay, sure. So your kidneys also need a certain amount of pressure in order to filter blood. If your kidneys are not feeling like they're getting the right pressure, they will signal your heart via hormones to send more blood to the kidneys to filter more, aka more blood pressure. So it is an infinite loop. And at the end of the day, we need to get you healthy. Okay. If we can balance the hormones, we can balance the blood flow, we can balance your life. How do we do that, Dr. Ben? First, let's take a little trip down pharmaceutical alley. Okay, Dr. Ben, by the way, this was super fun for me. I always like to, before I do any show, I do this little bit of research just to make sure I'm saying my words right, being smart about it. Well, it's funny. because one of our favorite research assistants in the medical world now, and everybody uses it, is good old fashioned ChatGPT. So I had a pharmaceutical debate this morning with ChatGPT, and I think it's important for you to read this. Okay. And I'm just gonna hit the highlights here. And I said, because I was talking about salt, because one of the number one things I can recommend you to do to fix your kidneys is salt. And some people say, well, salt, like you have to have a low sodium diet to help blood pressure. So I just want to say, okay, well, give me some research articles on that. So I had ChatGPT do that, and it kind of ripped through some articles very specifically, and it really gave me all these like there's a dangerous feedback loop, right? Uh, Damaged kidneys, worsen blood. Okay, the cycle continues. Bottom line is high blood pressure can cause kidney disease. Kidney disease can cause high blood pressure. Okay, we got it. And then I said, okay, well, what about the natural salts that we use? I'm saying this to ChatGPT because there's a lot of research. I just want to have to go hit it. And ChatGPT brings me back, oh, yeah. You can use some of these salts, but you have to be careful. Quite frankly, ChatGPT would not advise taking salt in any capacity with high blood pressure. I said, okay. Let's see if I can find my response. Where you're getting information for this takeaway, this warning about people with hypertension taking extra sodium, sounds like you work for the medical system. That's what I said to ChatGPT. ChatGPT says, that's a fair pushback. And then it comes through and says, well, hey, listen, these are nationally funded. NIH, National Institute of Health, freaking Heart Association, kidney journals. That's not pharmaceutical. I said, okay. And then they have this mixed takeaway like, I said, dig in and tell me who wrote the check and funded those research articles. That's what I said, ChatGPT. It said, absolutely. Let me break it down clearly. Because there's a thing called a DASH diet. You might have heard this, the DASH diet for hypertension. That's a low sodium diet, but it's been proven to decrease your blood pressure a little bit. However, I do not recommend the DASH diet, by the way. And it's funded by the NIH, LBI. Anyway, so ChatGPT comes through and starts giving us all these like, here's how this is funded. You know, the NIH, that's not fair. That's publicly funded. That's set by Congress every year. Okay. Yeah, it's set by Congress. So then I asked it, I said, I see you're citing a funding, but who paid for the grants? ChatGPT says, good. You're drilling into the next layer. Who actually wrote the checks that funded the NIH grants, Kidney Health of Australia, and the hospital trend? All right, here we go. And then it says US tax dollars did that. NIH budget is in the hundreds of billions of decades, and it is taxpayer funded. You and I wrote the check. That's even worse. Just so we're clear, that's even worse. Okay. So then they go through and talk about some more. Then what do I say? I say, who lobbied for the NIH grant money, and how did the pharmaceutical pay for that? That's a sharp line of questioning. Now you're digging into policy and lobbying. Not just who stamped the check. Here's how it works. The NIH is funded budget is over $47 billion in 2025. It is set by Congress. Lobbying to keep the NIH funded comes from medical universities, professional medical associations. So medical universities like Harvard, Johns Hopkins, University of Michigan, professional medical associations like American Heart Association, American Medical Association, disease-specific nonprofits. Oh, this is great. American Cancer Society, kidney foundations, pharmaceutical biotech companies. Now we're getting somewhere, but wait, it gets even worse. More grants. So these groups lobby to ensure that there's high NIH, National Institute of Health budgets, because there's more grants, more published studies, more clinical guidelines to be influenced. All right, here we go. But here's the problem. Pharma doesn't write checks directly to the NIH. That's illegal. ChatGPT. Pharma spent over $29 million in 2023 lobbying to increase budgets in areas that make them money. Now we're getting somewhere, and that's just for lobbyists. Okay, Dr. Ben, 23 million, that's not really that big of a deal. Again, there's more. Bottom line is the NIH grants are taxpayer money, you and me, but the pharma pays for lobbying and donation in the shape of NIH, of where the NIH puts its money and how guidelines interpret their results. So it's not that pharma buys the NIH, but they nudge the ecosystem so the science often aligns with their medical profit. Unbelievable. Okay. So it says, which was Netherlands. So then I took it on another rabbit trail and I said, are there any university labs? Because here's the thing, when you read any medical research, and I really don't recommend spending a lot of time, it's pretty boring. But if you look at medical research, you're going to see research that's written out of universities like University of Michigan, Harvard, John Hopkins. You're like, hey, these are like, what do you think when you hear that? Like, I would think like, hey, John Hopkins, that's like a really fancy place. Like, that's going to be like, or let's say Harvard, that's going to be like the smartest kids. And they're going to be in the lab. They got white lab coats on. They got nerdy glasses underneath of their nerdy glasses. Definitely have a pocket protector. And they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to do some research and I'm going to figure out, let's get to the bottom of cancer. Let's get to the bottom of heart disease. Like, that's what I think we're going to do. And who's paying for that? Well, it's Harvard. So Harvard's rich, right? No, Harvard is not rich. Harvard is funded by the government, is funded by the pharmaceutical industry. So when I asked ChatGPT, are there any university labs that are funded and named by pharmaceutical industries? We know the answer to that question. Yes, that happens a lot. And it's a key way pharma weaves itself into the research ecosystem. Universities often set up labs, centers, or entire research buildings that are either named after or substantially funded by pharmaceutical companies. Here are some clear examples. Let's go ahead and just do one of the biggest one. Novartis is Novartis Institutes for Biomedical Research, NIBR. Collaborates with universities, MIT, University UCSF of San Francisco, right? California, San Francisco. That's MIT. So Novartis is paying for the lab to give them favorable reading. Dr. Ben, these are scientists. They're never gonna give you information that is false just because that's the person who's writing their paycheck. And you think that, bro, you need to find a different podcast because that is just ridiculous thinking. Pfizer created the CTI. So Pfizer is the main person who funds the University of Michigan, UCSF, University of California, San Francisco. Like, how much funding from all of these laboratories comes from the pharmaceutical industry? You ready for this? All of it. All of it. And then not only that, who do you think? The American Heart Association, when they do their big gala, their big fundraiser, who writes the check? Pharmaceutical. And do you think that there's like some rich guy that made his money, because he mows lawns and he has the biggest lawn care company in the world, was going to the American Heart Association or writing him a $10 million check? No. You know who's writing the American Heart Association a $100 million check? You know who's doing that? Pfizer, Merck, GlaxoSmithKline, Ruth Lil, all of them, right? Like these are the pharmaceutical. This is how they weave into our society, and they give you baloney lies. Okay, sorry, I feel passionate. And you know what? Let me give you a real example. In chiropractic college, all my books, I had to pay for all my books, right? So books, by the way, in college are very expensive if you don't know. And I went back, and I was so old that I went back to college, or I went in college in a time that they actually used books. Paper books, I know it sounds crazy. You had to turn them, and sometimes like they rip and they're kind of heavy. They weighed more than an iPad, and we didn't have things that are really fancy like ChatGPT and such. So I paid for every single book in chiropractic college and undergrad, with the exception of one book. Can you guess which book I didn't pay for? That's correct. My pharmacy class. We take a class in chiropractic college, which I hate. I hated taking it, but it was a real eye opener. We had to take a class on pharmaceutical intervention in chiropractic college. Okay, I'm up for it. But when I walked in the room, stacks of books on the table, like, you don't have to pay for this book. I'm like, well, who pays for this book? It's literally written, it says, this book was funded by GlaxoSmithKline. Is there a conflict of interest here? In the whole topic, the whole class, it was just charts. We just had to memorize these charts. High blood pressure, this drug. High blood pressure, this drug. Of cancer, this drug. It was just memorization. It was literally just memorization. Classes and of drugs. That's it. And they paid for our book. And then there was also research. With the best part was I'm in chiropractic college. Okay? There was a paragraph on chiropractic in this book, and it said, basically, chiropractic is dumb and it does not work. That is in the book. Dr. Ben, that's a Dr. Ben tangent. You're going to get a couple of those on the podcast, but hopefully they get you excited about not participating in that failed, messed up, screwed up system. How do we eat our kidneys? So, average person that comes in with high blood pressure, sexual health, don't think about somebody that's necessarily overweight. Oftentimes, you're going to deal with stress. These are going to be people that work a lot of their life, usually mid 50s. They're going to be people that oftentimes are a little bit, maybe a little bit overweight, but really it's going to be food choices, workout choices, and then honestly a high level of stress. So the number one thing that spikes your blood pressure is going to be your body tells it to spike the blood pressure, right? So you've got your fight or flight and your rest and digest. So a chronic fight or flight response is going to be your sympathetic system. This is going to be being nervous, right? So we know this. So when you get nervous, you start sweating, your blood pressure goes up. Right now, if I don't know, something that makes you nervous, whatever, thinking about like speaking in front of your class in college, like suddenly, ooh, blood pressure just went up a little bit. Well, if that happens to you like once or twice a day, that's probably not a big deal. If that happens to you for like your whole day, it will destroy you. So we see this a lot of times with men that are successful or men that are dealing with a lot of stress. And that's going to be somebody who's like, they got like 1,000 business decisions and they look like a cool cucumber on the outside, but on the inside, their body's rotting. On the inside, their blood pressure is going up and they can feel it, right? Their organs feel bad. It's like the butterflies for the whole day. And it's really bad for you, right? So what are we going to do to combat all that stress? And what are we going to do for you, right? What are we going to put you about it? Okay. So here's my to-do list and here's my why. Number one thing that we're going to do is I'm going to tell you right now is that we call with chiropractic, that's why I have a chiropractic company, is nerve supply. Dr. Ben, that's dumb. Why ever will the new body thing getting adjusted? He's going to help your blood pressure, your ED. It's real simple. Guess what controls that heart to beat once? Your brain. Guess what controls those blood vessels to open and close? That's going to be, guess what? Nerves from your brain. Guess what tells your kidneys how to regulate these hormones? Your nerves. So if you have pinched nerves throughout your body, your organs will not work the way God designed them to. Now, you're saying, Dr. Ben, like, why would I have a pinched nerve in my heart? Well, I'll tell you why. Because if you have a whiplash from sports injury, that's a pinched nerve. Spend your time over your desk like that, that's a pinched nerve. If your back's a little messed up, particularly if you're somebody who sits in a chair all day long, or you're like what we call the weekend warrior, where you're picking up heavy stuff, you're being crazy and active, you're playing golf and tennis with your kids on the weekend, and then during the week, chair, drive a lot, whatever. That'll mess you up just as bad as picking up something really heavy and blowing out your back will do for you. All right. What that does is it causes your nerves, your bones to shift out of position, smash the nerves. It's bad. Now, I do not recommend going to some random chiropractor. There's a chiropractic company called The Joint. It's a slam bam, thank you, ma'am. It's quick pop, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. We have a chiropractic company. We are called Well Health and Chiropractic. If you live anywhere near me, make sure you go to one of our clinics because we are like the braces for chiropractic. If you're nowhere near Well Health and Chiropractic Clinic, there's a couple solutions that I have for you. One solution would be just to go find who's going to be like a collective chiropractic, the braces for chiropractic. Number two is going to be our neck wedge. This is something actually I patented this device because there's a study that came out of Canada in 2016 with braces. If you do 3 minutes of red light therapy one time per day with braces, right? If you do that 3 minutes one time per day, it will reduce the time to need braces from 104 days to 48 days. That is insane. And the reason is the question is why? It's because that red light therapy, that red light frequency actually stimulates your tissue to heal at a localized level. So what I did is I took our number one trusted orthotic that we use to help mold the ligaments in the neck with our chiropractic care, and I put red light in it. And I'm the first guy to do it. We patented it. Pretty cool. And what you do is put this by the neck. It's lay on it for a few minutes a day, and it helps put that curve back in your neck on pinching nerve. Side benefit is this thing comes out, and you can actually take this handheld out. You can use this anywhere you want, right? Use your shoulder. Some women will put on their thyroid, stimulate their thyroid. That's pretty cool. My wife last night, she got this little congestion in her chest, put it on her chest. Within like 10, 20 minutes, heated up her chest. She's like, oh, pack something up, good to go, right? So it's a very cool device. We recommend if you do not work anywhere near one of our chiropractic clinics. All right, the other thing that we're going to do, we're going to talk about decreasing our inflammation, and we're actually going to, I'm going to use this word, it's going to be crazy, increase your pH. So we'll talk about these. I'm going to rip them pretty quick because we're running low on time here. So to decrease your inflammation, how do we decrease your inflammation? Number one is I have a website that you can go to for free. That would be the way to do it. We do this with our food a lot of times. So if you go to, and I'm going to put the link in the bottom, it's called fooduniversity.tv, fooduniversity.tv. The link's in the description. And what that's going to do, that's going to show you how to eat an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. Why do we need anti-inflammatory? Anti-inflammatory is like, mess you up big time. It causes, and I'm not going to define it too much. There is tons of research between, and it, lots of inflammation causing blood pressure to go up, lots of inflammation causing cancer to go up, lots of inflammation causing literally all of the diseases, the chronic diseases, specifically your autoimmune disorders. That's lots of inflammation. So how do you do that? Very specifically, change your breakfast routine. I'm going to recommend a smoothie. As a matter of fact, filming this, I've got my smoothie right here. Probably looks pretty disgusting. It's pretty good. I've been doing a smoothie almost every morning. I do about 3, 4 times a week for like 20 years. And as you can see, like I'm pretty fit. And that's a lot of times, it's not because I just eat perfect, because I don't. I do eat real well, but I don't perfect. But what I do is I really bring my inflammation down, and that's a big piece of it. So fooduniversity.tv. The second thing here is we're going to increase our pH. Now, Dr. Ben, like I thought we were going to decrease our pH. Now, remember, pH is acidity. So the lower your pH, the more acidic you are. So what we're specifically going to do is we're going to balance our pH. And the thing why that's super important is a lot of that happens, bango, in your kidneys. So if we can balance our pH, we're going to really be helping our kidneys a lot. So how do we do that? Very specifically, we need to find the foods that are going to drive down our pH, drive up our acidity. A couple things to look at inflammation. We'll hear this, people say, well, Dr. Ben, shouldn't I just eat either a carnivore diet or should I do vegetarian? Like, what should I do? Like, personally, I don't recommend any of that stuff. I'm going to recommend going with the anti-inflammatory diet that's going to come on Food University. Is what I'm on. Like, I mean, great. You get somebody saying it's more like the right. Okay. So let's just talk about food for just a second. Inflammation. Number one, it's really important when it comes to inflammation that your body has the right ratio of omega 3 to omega 6. Omega 3 to omega 6. So omega 6 is pro inflammatory, omega 3 is anti inflammatory. So don't we need just a ton of omega 3s? Answer is yes. Sure, you do. We need a balance though. This ratio should be 1 to 3. That's what it should be. So you actually need 3 times more pro inflammatories than anti inflammatories. The reason is if you get cut and you don't have inflammation, you would bleed to death. So inflammation is a good, healthy process. It brings white blood cells. It helps clean things. It's good for you. But too much is bad. The average woman that has multiple sclerosis is 1 to 22. MS woman, 1 to 22. The average grain-fed cow has a fat ratio of 1 to 22. The average grass-fed cow has a omega-3 ratio of 1 to 3. When you take fish oil, it is 1 to 0. So you can dilute. The best thing that you can do for your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is dilute your omega-3s with concentrated like fish oil or krill oil. I'm going to leave my favorite one in the link below, but just do that every morning. That's the easiest thing. So cut out your grain-fed cows. And remember, the grain-fed cow, you can also cut out the grain. You've also heard this thing called seed oil. Seed oil is 0 to 1. All right, are you getting it? So seed oil, the reason it's so bad is it is concentrated pro-inflammatory. Fish oil is concentrated anti-inflammatory. Which one do you get more of in your diet? Well, I'm just going to go and tell you. Seed oil. Seed oils are in everything, right? Seed oils are going to be sunflower oil. I mean, the things that we think are going to be good. The number one source by far, by the way, is canola oil. Canola and soybean oil. Those are the ones you got to just run from. And as a matter of fact, peanut oil, Chick-fil-A, like that's one of them. So that's what we'll use. We're going to switch to beef tallow, which I'm going to do we'll do a podcast on beef tallow at some point. Beef tallow, avocado oil, like these things, we switch our oils around, and we're going to decrease our inflammation. So, and notice I didn't say anything about going vegetarian, carnivore diet. That's something you want to try, go for it. But make sure it's carnivore diet. We got to grass fed. Carnivore diet's going to do something really different. We'll do that for another podcast. Don't hate it, don't love it. It's just somewhere in the middle. Okay. Your blood pH is super important. And your blood pH is something that you need to regulate. And the best way that you can do that is your blood pH is greens. Greens are real easy to get in your body if you're like a greens powder. So you can do greens. The best is obviously going to be fresh. Salad. In my family, we do fresh juice. We juice at least once a week. We do carrot, kale. We love carrot, kale, apple, I will put a little bit of orange in there and then either lemon or lime, and that's going to be the preservative. We love it. We drink it. My kids love it. That is what we do in lieu of taking hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of supplement. We do fresh green juice. Now, it takes a little bit of time to clean the thing up and whatever, but we love it. It's great. Now, my kids, as a matter of fact, at this point, I think I'm going to scar them for life because every time we eat pizza, we will only do pizza as a cheat meal if we also drink green juice. So at this point, I can't eat pizza without drinking green juice. It's like something I have to do, which is very weird, I know, but that works. Yeah. And then the other guy, where to look down here is you also can do a green powder. Not as good, but it is a quick thing. That actually helped me when I was doing triathlons because I was eating like my body as I was doing triathlon season for a little while and it was pretty intense. And I had to do about almost 5,000 calories a day to keep my weight stable. It's just crazy. I was burning so much energy. Plus, I was really busy with the outlet. It's just food time. And the problem is when you're eating 5,000 calories, it's almost impossible if you're supposed to have 30% fat, 30% protein, 30% healthy carbohydrates like salads and broccolis and stuff. Like if you're eating 30% fat, 2,000 calories, 40% carbohydrates, it's pretty simple. It's a couple a salad a day, some greens and veggies. Like you can catch up with that. But when you're trying to eat 5,000 calorie ratio, it's easy to eat that much fat. It's easy to eat that much protein. It is very difficult to eat like 5 giant salads per day. So what I found me personally is I was getting ulcers on the inside of my lips, which is bad because that also means those ulcers are going to be on the inside of my gut. Can't see those, but they're there. So, which is not good. Now you think ulcer like stomach pain, but think more like a sore on the inside of your intestine. Really bad, not good. Good way to get sick. You don't like that. So what I did is actually back in the days, I just hammered green powder. And it's fun. Like I get these ulcers that come out of my lip, and I'm like, oh man. And I do 3 greens powder shots per day. I'll leave a link of my favorite one in the description. I do 3 green shots a day. And literally like the next morning I'd wake up and all those little ulcers would be gone. Because I've rebalanced my pee. That's a big deal. All right. So one of my other favorite things here is so we did inflammation, we did pH, and then we have to remineralize. So your kidneys need a lot of minerals. And I'm going to show you my favorite one, and I'm actually even going to show you how I do it. Mineral, minerals, right? And this is going to be salt. Okay. And by the way, this is really what got me. I'm really sorry on this ChatGPT tangent. Is because salt. So table salt, bad for you. Himalayan salt, this is going to be Redmond's, which is actually from the United States. Salt, these types of salt drinks are really good for you because they remineralize your body. You need that. Research shows that if you take potassium, you will decrease your blood pressure. If you take magnesium, you will decrease your blood pressure. If you take sodium, table salt, sodium chloride, sodium, you will increase your blood pressure. Now, some of that is just because doctors are going to try and pay for it. However, when you do real salt that have the minerals, you're going to get the opportunity to remineralize your body. And the fringe benefit of that is going to help take the tension off of your blood vessels. Very important. So let's just go into a little show and tell here. So this is a glass of delicious water with a spoon in it, nothing in there. This is my favorite one. It's called Relight. Okay? It is a hydration. Actually, so I'm going to focus on it first so you can see it. Relight. Hydration. Watermelon lime is my jam. Anyways, this is one of my favorite things that we do, particularly in my house. I'll do coffee for, at breakfast. And then in the afternoon, when I need something, I'll do some salt. So all I'm going to do is in here, it's got a little teeny scoop. It looks like this. I'm just going to give myself a little scoop. Fill that dude all. I like to do a full scoop like that. And then right in the old water she goes. Mix it up. Now here's the thing. Is the first time you do, you're like, there's some salty water in there. And it's so funny. It is a little salty, but it's kind of great. Now in real life, once I've mixed it, because I want this to be room temperature so more of it absorbs, then I put my ice in there and I make it like a drink. And legitimately, this is a good drink. This is a delicious, a really good salty drink. It's so good. But this watermelon lime, this is my jam. Link is in the description. I think it's incredible. Remineralizes your body. When you drink it, I promise you, you will feel different. Because what it's also going to do is actually gonna absorb water and then get it through your kidneys and flush your kidneys. So let's talk about that for just one quick second, because that's really important. Okay. When you have high blood pressure, the research is going to tell you you have too much, that your kidneys produce a hormone called aldosterone, and it's going to pull in water. It's going to be your water salt balance. what happens is your body, when you have salt inside of your cell, what's going to happen? So this is going to be your cell. Again, we're just going to talk science because you're some science nerds. So the blue dots equal salt. Okay. Outside of your cell, this is your extracellular area, and this is just going to be like where your normal fluid hangs out. Okay. We have a thing in science called osmosis. Right? Osmosis means that if we have the same number of salt on the outside of the cell, then this is going to be neutral. So the salt will transfer. Okay. Now remember, the salt can't really transfer through the membranes very well, but the water can. The water can fast. So I'm going to use this red is the water. Okay. So what is going to happen is if inside of the cell has too much salt, more salt than the outside of the cell, what's going to happen through osmosis? So there's a bunch of salt on the inside of the cell, and there's only fluid out here. What's going to happen is your body is going to try to dilute the cell with water, and that water is going to come into your cell, and then your cell is going to swell in size because now it has more water in it. Does that make sense? So naturally, you're thinking, well, I wouldn't want the salt in there because that's going to put more water in my cell. But the reality is that's not exactly true because water is life. And why is water life? Water is life because you need the water in your cell to do cellular function. Also, when water comes into your cells, it flushes toxins with it. So you need water in your cell. If you say, I don't want to swell my water, or I don't want to swell my cell, and there's only this much salt in there, so we're just going to do less salt. Well, what that means is that your body is not going to have that natural flushing mechanism that brings water in and out of your cell. And if you don't have that natural flushing mechanism, that's bad. And what's going to happen is your body will actually increase its blood pressure to flush the cell some more. So that's why, believe it or not, if you do good remineralized salt, that is going to help maintain and regulate your blood pressure. Specifically, potassium and magnesium are going to be really good. Not sodium. Sodium is like sodium, not table salt, just so we're clear, not table salt. However, this salt, you can get it non-flavored and you can use it like table salt. It still tastes salty. It's just going to have more minerals with it. So, cannot take one more sip, sorry. So one thing we're going to do is in my house is we're going to use other types of remineralizing salt as our table salt. We're using salt called Celtic salt, which I'll leave that link in the description. We use pink Himalayan salt and we alternate. And that is what we're going to use at our table. And that's what I recommend for yours. Okay. So sorry, today's 25-minute podcast is 40 minutes. Please forgive me. Nobody is surprised who knows me personally. They went a little bit over. No, but what I want you to know, this is blood pressure. This is sexual health. And if you can change these things, or those 3 areas that we talked about, make sure that you get your nerves unpinched with chiropractic. Again, if you live anywhere near the Nashville area, we've got 13 offices around Nashville. We've got we got 2 down in Florida. And my goal is a Nashville brand of chiropractic clinics because it's so powerful and it's just exactly the way God made you. So anyways, either way, glad to have you. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Dr. Ben Live. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe this video so that way you can get more Dr. Ben Live videos that will give you good health advice. These are things we can send on to our families because ultimately we want to live this amazing, blessed life that God has designed for us. And we don't want to be falling short in the areas of health because that is something that we can do something about. So if you have a very specific health issue and you want me to talk about it on Dr. Ben Live, you can either leave it in the comments, you can do a private message or a DM for us. Leave as a page detailed as you want, and maybe I'll pick you, and we will do all of this write-up of how you can help have a natural solution for a problem that is bugging you or somebody that you love. Guys, I'm Dr. Ben, and I cannot wait to hear your miracle story.